Super Saturday, the final round of the Six Nations is here, and we are going to look at Le Crunch, France versus England. France have named an unchanged 23. England have made one change. Manny Faye-Boso injured. Daly comes into him with Manu Tuolangi off the bench. Bit of chat around Charles Oliver might be injured for France. We'll see. But with the team consistent, it's all about how they back up after last weekend. France were better last weekend than they have been, but I still think only 6 out of 10. England were obviously brilliant against Ireland, 10 out of 10 performance, but I just don't think they'll be able to back that up. They were so emotionally charged. The crowd was fully behind them. They had emotion around Jamie George's mum. It was Mother's Day the following day, first game at home since she passed. They were fired up after the criticism against Scotland, and I just don't think they can recreate that, especially away in Lyon. Hell of an atmosphere. Lyon area is a bit of its own rugby heartland. Richard and I both think France will shade it. And we're going to give you 3 things to look out for in the game where it could be won and lost. So, as I mentioned, France were about 6 out of 10 last week. Their attack and their line out, where they've got new coaches, are still stuttering. But the 3 things to watch. First one is France's halfbacks and their attack. Ramos at 10 is a beautiful player to watch. He makes stuff look so simple. And I think he'll be even better for the run out at 10 last week. He's not a regular 10 the whole time. Le Garec was brilliant as well. Interesting to see him take that confidence and game time from last week into this week's game. But how they click, I think the extra game time that they had last week will help them a lot this week. And we could see that evolution in France's attack. It could be back to where we're used to seeing it. And the second thing is France's forward pack. So Meafu and Flamont in the second row. That was only their second game back from injury. So they'll be better for the run out. And hopefully their line out will fare a bit better as a result. Flamont, a bit more game time, a bit more cohesion with that system. You know, there's been a lot of chopping and changing in the second rows for France throughout this tournament. In terms of physicality, Chesham and Martin were brilliant for England last week. Can they match up against that big France pack? Personally, if anyone is going to stop the carries of Meafu, Antonio, Aldrit, Flamont, the Taufifenuas when they come on, it is Chesham and Martin. Those guys absolutely bang. Will Alex Mitchell sniping around the fringes? He's brilliant at that. Will it tire out the French forwards? I personally think that whole move the big lads of France around is a bit overhyped. I think they're phenomenal athletes. Meafu in particular is brilliant and agile and just such an engine. And the third thing is France under the high ball. They struggled with it in the World Cup and against Ireland. Damien Penaud was a lot better last week than he has been for the rest of the tournament, but he was still a little bit shaky under the high ball. Wales didn't really test out Louis Bielbarré, who has had his issues. They didn't really test out Leo Barré on his first test start. Both young, both inexperienced. I don't think George Ford is going to leave that question unanswered as to how they go under the high ball. George Ford is one of the best tactical kickers in the world. And I think he's got 2 brilliant kick chasers in Daly and Freeman. Daly in particular is a brilliant kick chaser. I think England are going to be kicking a lot more than we saw last week. They might revert more to that game type like they played against South Africa in the World Cup semi-final. And I think it'll be really interesting to see how France deal with that. It could be a real test, and it could be where the game is won and lost.